Okay, we want to stay on the topic of energy and technology for our next keynote address. Half of the world's population, as I'm sure we all know, already lives in cities, and those urban centers need reliable, sustainable sources of power. Where will the solutions come from? Well, our next speaker has some answers for us. Please help me welcome the chairman at ABB, Dr. Hubertus von Grunberg.
Have fun. Ladies and gentlemen, fortunately, I'm not going to read the speech. I would be embarrassed by my predecessor, who spoke freely. I will try not to bore you too much in order not to empty the hall completely. At CeBIT, you normally find the world's top of ICT. I'm not one of them. So you're sure you want to listen to me, the few that are left? Yesterday, Professor Kemp and Chancellor Merkel said ICT controls, drives everything. It surely drives ABB, the company I'm representing, a world leader in power and automation. So is ABB just a user, just a consumer? We are consuming a lot of ICT, but I guess we have to give something back. Smart cities is the subject I've been given. Most of life happens in cities nowadays. It is in natural resources, 75%, and in population, we are growing to more of half by far, and to more than 60% we are growing to in terms of gross domestic product. But there's a but to this urbanization, to this concentration of business life and social life and public life and creativity, mostly in cities. There's a downside. It is pollution. You see on the right box, pollution and the environmental damage which it entails and the impact on quality of life. Investment is required to attract the skills because there is sincere competition between cities. Cities are about 3% of world land mass, but consume more than 3/4 of the world's natural resources. So we have to solve the city energy problem in a sustainable way. The most environmentally friendly energy for cities is electrical energy, and there's no way the cities can generate, with all the rooftops they may have, the amount of energy they need within their limits. The electric energy has to be hauled in. High voltage, direct current, long distance, and so forth. At the same time, the emphasis needs to be on saving as much as we can in cities by making them smarter. Under smart cities, I would include, as we show in the phrasing top left, quality of life, sustainability, and economic growth. These may be conflicting characters. Growth, sustainability, and quality at the same time. And this is where the smart, the intelligent, the ICT-driven management of the infrastructure comes in. To a smart city, there is a two-pronged approach. We need to have a framework from the regulator. We cannot just leave it to the companies, to business, to technology. There needs to be a concept. Within that concept, clearly said, the implementation is on entrepreneurial activity of the various qualified businesses. It's a lot with sensors and control systems and drives and intelligence, which means software. A point of paramount importance is the overall cost. We must try to reduce of costly energy as much as possible to cope with sometimes inevitable increases of cost per unit. I would like to give you some examples because this is what I all came for. The rest you might get from newspapers or from textbooks, from the internet. The practical examples, we did not publish them all yet, and I brought some of them to you. This is not another visionary speech of a green soul. This is about actual facts. One which is beyond the obvious, which you might not have expected in the context of smart, environmentally friendly and worth living cities, is the port question. Well, as a matter of fact, there aren't any ports by themselves in the countryside. Ports are always with cities. So port pollution is part of city pollution if the city is a port city. During a relatively short stay, a passenger ship can use about 20 metric tons of fuel and produce the corresponding higher amount even of carbon dioxide emissions. The idea, of course, is to make the ships switch off their internal power generation, their diesels, their generators, reducing noise, fuel consumption and pollution by bringing in the energy from shore. We have installed such equipment in many ports. Would like to mention Rotterdam and Sweden, in Istad and Gothenburg, in Seattle, in India. It is not a naive, a straightforward thing. It's not too easily done because there is a lot of power consumed on big vessels, and it may need on the land side a special small substation for voltage step down and for frequency conversion. The frequency converter of 50 hertz to 60 hertz, because most international ships are on 60 hertz. But it saves a lot of pollution and energy, provided that the energy supplied from the land side is produced in the right way, economic and environmentally friendly. Another one, not too obvious, is the one at the left, the bus, which I would like to draw your attention to. Taking pollution, noise, discomfort of the cities means to move to affordable electricity. Now, subways, wonderful, but heavy investment. We said we want a worth living city without the burdens of cost. We have enough cost explosion already in some areas. I'm not running this speech to unnecessarily add more. So let's be cautious. If we can avoid the enormous infrastructure cost of bringing in subways, streetcars, let's do it. Even trolley buses, which belong to the least in infrastructure cost of electric mass transportation, are handicapped in investment and in maneuverability by the twin overhead lines. So if there's traffic congestion, they cannot go around. If there's an accident, they are just stuck. And the infrastructure investment of the citywide dual overhead for trolley buses is significant as well. We have a project running, not on the drawing board, in the city, in practical application. It's called TOSA. It's a bus, battery driven, with fast charging, high power fast charging. The bus approaches the stop. It takes about 15 seconds to recharge the energy until the next bus stop. For this, the bus has a movable connector on rooftop, computer and controlled, laser measured, where it finds the associated power point in the station's equipment. It connects, recharges. This is not a trivial thing to do. It is direct current, fast charging with considerable energy flow. It is 500 volt, but it's on rooftop and thereby not a problem. It's not a dream. It's up and running in Geneva. More to come. You have heard a lot of electromobility for individual traffic, and some of you may have lost patience. It has been heralded as the big breakthrough, and then it came slow. So in some people's mind, they have given up and they postpone until the year in their subconscious to 2050. I cannot blame you if you got that impression. For me, it was slow as well, less fact than speak, but yet it happens. The hindrances, the obstacles to widespread application of electromobility are, of course, cost, namely cost of battery, and that is being coped with by decreasing battery cost in the magnitude of 20 to 30% per year. And a very important obstacle, psychological obstacle to go all electric is the so-called range anxiety. People are concerned to be left in the middle of nowhere with no more power. Here is where a more closely allocated recharging network comes into play, and the speed of charge. We speak about facts when we say in the two countries, namely the Netherlands and Estonia, there are installations underway, ordered and being implemented by the industry, where the charging stations are no more than 50 kilometers apart from one another. So range anxiety goes because your system shows you early on that you have 80, 90 or 100 kilometers left and you can go to a charging station. Now the question is, how long would it take? And we have accomplished a lot there. It's not good enough for many. For the eager beaver business guys of today, 20-minute charging time is still far too long. On the power side, on the ABB side, we can supply more energy also through the power grids and the fast charging devices. We can go to higher power flow, to higher wattage, but the batteries wouldn't like it too much. If we go from 50 kilowatt charging, that's already something. From 50 kilowatt to right now possibly 100 kilowatt charging to several hundred kilowatt. For us, not a problem. For the poor battery guys, it is a problem. We would reduce battery life by charging with more power. But 15 to 30 minutes for many people is good if the range of a full battery vehicle goes, like I will refer to in the case of China or in the case of Tesla, goes to over 200 kilometers. Then the density of the charging points of 50 kilometers and the charging time of 20-25 minutes becomes acceptable. Facts in those countries, not visions. Again, when we talk about electromobility, with all the good accomplishments in Netherlands, Estonia and elsewhere, China is miles ahead. The program in China dwarfs everything in Europe and the USA. There's a new vehicle coming out, it's the Denza, of a joint venture company between BYD, Build Your Dreams, and Daimler. The Denza has a range of over 200 in China. And with every Denza the public is going to buy comes a fast charger for home installation. So that will be huge volume, and everybody will have his own fast charger with that speed, that power that I mentioned before. The orders are placed. This is not a government program for some time, for doomsday. The orders to business, I ought to know, are placed and in execution. Of course, when we talk about smart cities, you expect reference being made to the real projects, role model projects in some cities. Most of them north of us. Stockholm Royal Seaport is a role model smart city project which is underway. Another one which I depicted here is in Helsinki. The target of this solid, pragmatic program, not dreamful, but realistic program, is to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from 11 tons per inhabitant to 1.5 tons, which is somewhat over, slightly over 10%, to reduce carbon dioxide emissions within the time frame from 10 to about 1, from 100 to roughly over 10%. It involves 18,000 inhabitants in that district of Helsinki. Smart grid in the bottom right, smart city, smart control comes in everything. The integration of renewables, storage, the control of power flow. This is typical energy business activity like we are in with our company, but the management of these diverse power flows, local generation, storing, flowing into electric automobiles, batteries, flowing back from electrical automobile batteries. All of this is, of course, heavy ICT. Well, you know where the most environmental friendly energy comes from, which is the soonest to reach grid parity, not having an objective. Pricing is different from cost. Not having an objective cost disadvantage to coal-fired power plant energy in the near future. Reaching grid parity or having reached grid parity is wind energy. And you have been dealing with that a lot, and I should save their time, your time, on this one. I will conclude. I guess it won't hurt to be fast. I know I'm the last one before lunch. So the patience is least with who is last. And this is the same chart I had before, and it's my summary chart. And yes, it is desirable to have a smart city. But acceptance of the smart city, with all its achievements, with all its improvements for quality of life, for allowing growth, with sustainable environmental consequences, the cost associated with desirability will decide about democratic acceptance. I trust, ladies and gentlemen, of you listening to me here, and hopefully 5 more on the global internet. Maybe I have 5 or so followers within ABB who are connected right now and who watch their colleague not making too many mistakes. The acceptability, ladies and gentlemen, depends on cost, on the affordability. And I trust that with ITT's ingenuity, creativity, and with the power and automation industries like myself, dedication and rigor and vigor, we will cope with the challenge of making the city smarter and better, but containing cost to the maximum degree. I thank you for your patience.
Okay, Mr. Bloomberg, thank you very much. Is a question from the audience. We have about a minute or so. Anyone out there? I know there was one that was tweeted to us. What is the smartest city right now, what would you say? Or, I mean, can we say that? Someone was asking on Twitter.
The smartest projects, as I tried to indicate, are still underway. There is a typical habit in the Scandinavian countries for years to be technically high, the latest, but environmentally friendly. I would refer to cities like Stockholm, Helsinki, Copenhagen. They belong, in my mind, to the best.
To the best. Okay, very good.
Getting better.
Mr. van Gruber, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to take a lunch break now, and there's a networking break as well, which you can see out there, and we will be resuming at 1:30, and we're going to have our first keynote presentation for the afternoon will be from Accenture at 1:30, so we'll see you back.